This is just before I put down the second layer. Now I'm just about to put that second floor in. We are doing the insulation and we're gonna buy the flooring tomorrow. Alright, so the shelving and the flooring is now out. This gives you an idea of what the van looks like. Just bare bones out of the factory. Just giving her a bit of a clean up, and we are now officially doing this by lamplight. To clean the van, I literally just used a sponge and some water, let it drip out, and wiped down with a towel after. So I've bought 5 of these XPS bats. Now I've chosen XPS because of its high compression strength, so that means that it's not going to sink down anywhere. That should stay relatively compact. Now I've cut out all of the XPS foam boards. Majority of it's done. I'm going to fill in the gaps with the offcuts I've got. So sound deadening was the step that I didn't want to overlook in my build. I found that as I was driving around up the front, particularly with someone else, the rattling from the back and the road noise coming up from the van was kind of irritating, and you had to talk a bit loudly. So I managed to find a product called Butyl tape. This is basically the same thing that I found, or the same product that was marketed as sound deadening kit for cars. But I just bought it as the material because it was much cheaper per square meter sort of thing. Now, on the topic of sound deadening, I've heard a few different things, but the main consensus is you don't actually have to cover the entire surface that you want to sound deaden in order for it to be effective. The 2 things I've heard is one, that you only have to cover 25%, and the other was 60% for it to be effective coverage and like get rid of a lot of the excess noise. So I ended up shooting on the floor for 50%, just running it on the low points of the ribs, because to be honest, I wasn't even sure if this product would work the way I was hoping it would. So I found this to be a semi-effective way of covering the van without spending too much money. In the end, it ends up working great, and now as I drive it around, based on the other things I've done to the van, sound deadening everywhere else, it's actually been quite effective. Even with just a little bit of butyl tape I used in the back, I found that once the XPS board was down, it did quite a lot for keeping that back area quiet. I would highly recommend butyl tape for anyone trying to do a bit of a cheaper van build. I found this product worked extremely well on the van, and also the advantage of double-sided tape is I was able to use it on some of the high parts in places to also stick down the XPS board. But this is how it looked with it all laid out, and I slowly started ripping off half of the backing until I went to the other side. The XPS board insulation has all been laid, and I've filled up all the little gaps with packers, so it's not gonna move too much when I put the floorboards down. And now just to get a final layer of seal to it, I've bought some Sika yield expanding foam, and I'm spilling it everywhere. I'm trying to just, I'm gonna clog up all these gaps, make sure that it's all pretty protected, but this stuff's pretty cool, so I thought I might try to film it. It has now been a day since I filled in all the gaps with spray foam. This was the main area I was worried about, where the gap was biggest. This has done sweet FA, and so I'm not too worried. At the very least, the larger portions like under here, I'm hoping that helps to keep the heat in or out, and overall makes it a bit cooler. So now I'm either gonna have to grind, sand, or cut off all the excess. I'm hoping cut and then potentially sand, but we're gonna see if this works. All right, that straight away, so easy. So I'm gonna hopefully just go around the edges, clean this up, cut it out. Just overall get this back to a smooth surface, because in a sec, I'm about to make my subfloor, which is what the floorboards will be going into. Just as a little update, I went on to discover later in the build, by far the easiest way to get this stuff up is if you have an oscillating multi-tool. It literally cuts through it like butter, so if you've got one, definitely use that. Hi, it's me again. So I'm an idiot. I've been sitting here slowly slicing this out, and then my girlfriend Dana just rocks up and rips the most perfectly clean line ever. Do you want to see my efforts? Ooh, ah. I think we're gonna rip the rest of it up instead of slicing like a dickhead. Although, yeah. Don't gouge.
Slide.
Slide. All the excess foam has now been cut off, and that's more or less how I want it to look. This will get covered anyway, but for now I'm gonna get started on the subfloor, try to cut that out and put that in. The advantage I had of creating my subfloor was that the van I'd bought had already come with one. Now it was a bit of a gross, I want to say 16mm MDF board, which obviously I didn't want to keep, but still worked really well as a stencil for my 3mm ply. So I just chucked that down, went around, traced the outsides, and that gave me a really good outline to cut. To cut out my subfloor, I just used a corded jigsaw. This is absolutely a tool that I would recommend if you're doing any sort of build like this, because it's really easy to get some detailed, intricate lines and create some shapes that would be quite hard to do with any other tool. It's also one that you don't need much skill for, and it's pretty straightforward how to use it. And just like that, the subfloor has been cut. I think as far as the subfloor goes, that's gonna look pretty nice. High five me. We are back at it with another day. So far the XPS insulation layer is done. Gaps have been filled, and I've just gone over what was sitting over, like bubbling up a bit with my sander. Just got the whole surface down a bit like more level. And hopefully now when the subfloor goes on, it's gonna stick well. My subfloor is cut. I'm pretty happy. I've had to go back and notch out a bit more to get around the wheel wells, a few other spots, but now happy with how that's going to sit in. So just going to quickly test that, see how it fits, and then I'm going to be sticking the subfloor down with a bit of BondCrete, which is basically just PVA glue. My plan is to just smother it everywhere and then stick the boards down, and hopefully they end up sticking pretty nice. Now, given that BondCrete is just a brand of glue, I probably could have done this part cheaper by grabbing any old PVA off the shelf. However, I have used this product with work before, and I trusted that it would do what I needed it to do. With that said, the BondCrete was super effective and quite easy just to slap across the floor and provide something to hold down my subfloor with. This is just before I put down the second layer, so I'm going to be holding down the first with bricks. The BondCrete is now covering the floor, and 1 litre was absolutely perfect for what I needed. Now it's about to put that second floor in. So close to perfect. There's my subfloor. I've pretty much grabbed everything that I could find to put a bit of weight on the subfloor while the glue dries. I just want to leave it so, you know, the longer it's on there, the better. I'm going to move on to the roof now, or the ceiling. So it's got